Okay, I already see many colleagues from many different countries. A very warm welcome to all of you. I would suggest to start. This is the third occasion that we are together in the framework of the RM Framework online user events. We are very happy to have you all here, as these events have a very specific mission, basically. Our aim to present what we are doing in the project. So presenting our results, starting with the handbook, which is one of the core outputs of the project. And what we really want to do is to engage the community, engage potential users, start a dialogue with them, and collect feedbacks from the user side to see whether any adjustments are needed, to see how much it is feasible to use these outputs, and how relevant it is to adopt them and adapt them to the specific circumstances all across Europe. So very warm welcome from our side. My name is Virág Zsár. I'm based in HITFA Research Institute, and we are responsible for the communication, dissemination, and exploitation of this project. And this is why we are leading this series of online user events. And as you can see here, we have still more events to come in the second half of this year. And basically, these events will focus on the different outputs, different project results, as it has been already announced. So you can see already the dates for the next events and their main topics. So we will have one dedicated session to the quality label, then the value proposition, and the policy recommendations as such. Most of them have targeted audience, but of course, anybody who is interested in learning more details are very much welcome. In parallel to the online user events, we are having already, and we will have more offline user events as well, organized by our partners. So on the right-hand side, you can also see the list of the upcoming events. So starting with Italy, then continuing with Spain and the Czech Republic, we will have dedicated sessions to RM Framework in the frame of other events where we can already reach out to our main audience, research managers, training providers, but also leadership and the research funding bodies who are very much relevant to our topic. So please save the dates if you are interested and follow us, and we will, of course, share more information with that regard. Having said that, I would like to give the floor now to Lorenzo Molina. Lorenzo Molina is a policy and project officer based in IARMA, and he will shortly introduce to us into the project what RM Framework is doing and how you can follow us and what we are doing. Lorenzo, the floor is yours.
Okay, so thank you very much, Virag, for this introduction. I hope that you can all see the screen. My name is Lorenzo Molina. I'm in the Project and Policy Officer at IARMA, so the coordinator of RM Framework projects. And today I would like indeed to give to all of you a sort of introduction of the projects, highlighting the main goals and the objectives, and also the work that we are developing through these 2 years Horizon Europe projects. So basically, RM Framework started in February 2025, and it will last for 2 years until the end of 2027. The project was created with the main goal of supporting the development of an open and sustainable European qualification system in research management, trying to enhance interoperability and improving particularly the performance of RM practice within the European research area. Indeed, this kind of work was already started with a former project, RM Roadmap, but with the framework, the idea is to do something more also in terms of long-term improvements in the professional development of a research manager, because we all know that this profession is quite fragmented so far within the European landscape. So the idea of this project is trying to standardize a bit more and also do something in terms of further recognition and professionalization of research manager. As you can see from the slides, this Horizon Europe project is part of the WIDERA work program of Horizon Europe. Gathers 12 partners from 8 countries, and with 5 work package led by the CHE, Center for Higher Education in Germany. Today we have Niklas from this a center that will speak about more about the handbook. Then Yarma as a leader of the quality label work package, but also then of the project management side, and then the University of Coimbra leading the pilot testing work package, and then EDFA colleagues leading the communication, dissemination, and exploitation activities. So, just to give you more of background, as I said before, the RM framework tries to further develop and uptake what were already some important results within the RMA community, particularly thanks to the work of the projects Cardea and RM Roadmap. But the aim is also to further uptake and develop the European Competences Framework for Research Manager, known as RM Comp, and focusing on several skills and competencies for research managers. So the idea of the project is to try to further develop this competency framework and trying to do something more in the professionalization and development of research manager, also trying to have for them the important skills and also instruments to further develop their profession and to be recognized within the European landscape. As you can see also from these slides, we have collaborating with other initiatives that were also developed before and with other programs. So in terms of the timeline, we are currently towards the, let's say, in the second half of the project. As you can see, we are working indeed on the quality label that Yarma is leading as a work package, and also trying also to further develop the work done through the handbook. So the two work package are very linked and intertwined between themselves, so the handbook and the quality label, and then also the pilot testing phase led by the colleagues of the University of Coimbra is currently ongoing, trying to then test what is developed through the handbook and the quality label process. So when it comes to the main results of the project, as I mentioned, so the three main results, key results of our projects, and that are very linked between each other, are indeed the handbook for developing high quality training programs for research manager, which my colleague Niklas will talk about more later. And the idea of the handbook is indeed to develop such programs for research manager that needs to have an high quality. And that is the reason for why the second main main result of the project is the quality label. So to further support training and research management, with the idea that research manager training providers also can have high quality programs. So the idea of the quality label is to further develop these trainings and with the aim to have these trainings of a high quality. And then we have as a last important results, the pilot testing that has the aim to validate both the handbook and the quality label in different organizational settings. So the pilot testing is linked both to the handbook and quality label results and is currently ongoing. So when it comes then to the policy aspects of the projects, the RM framework will also and is actually organizing, as in this case, online and user events that have indeed the aim of enabling the adoptability of the framework and of the label. So the idea is to engage the community of research managers, as Virak said before, through different kind of events. But we also aim with this project to engage policymaker and institutional leaders, because this is important in order to push for the professional recognition of a research manager. And we aim also to deliver policy recommendation addressed indeed to the institutions, and also with the aim to have trainings integrated not only into EU policies but also into national landscape. So the communication and dissemination part is a key focus of these projects, and thanks to the EDFA colleagues, we have developed a podcast that you can also see and watch again through our website. So currently, if I'm not wrong, we developed 7 podcasts that are all visible on the platform of our projects, but there are also incoming podcasts. So if you are interested in knowing more about the handbook concept or the pilot testing concept, for example, but also about some national initiatives, I would recommend you to go through our website in order to see and watch these podcasts. And yeah, I thank you very much for the attentions. I will give back the floor to Virag. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lorenzo, for the very nice overview of the project. So I think it is very clear what our audience can expect from us and how we are progressing with the delivery of this. Let me just quickly invite you to Mentimeter. You can find the link in the chat, but you can also go there via Menti. I will have one warm-up question before I give the floor to our next presenter. So regarding the question, basically what we would like to see is that, based on your opinion, what is the biggest challenge when designing research management training today? So if you are within your institution are trying to onboard colleagues or trying to give further training, or you as a research funding body, what kind of challenges you are facing. So any replies can come. Let's see what is your experience and opinion. Yes, I think the most relevant, or one of the most relevant ones, are already coming. So the versatile job descriptions, then AI appearing, recognition issues, different training needs, confusion with definition, heterogeneity. I think most of them relates to the same issue. So the diversity of research management roles and professions. But the budget can be also an issue, especially, I guess, for external training providers. implementation, leadership awareness. So yes, I think we are all in the same boat and having the same issues, and these are very important things that we have to tackle when we are trying to give a framework, when we are working for the quality label and all the other outputs in the project. So, thank you very much for sharing all your opinion. Now I would like to give the floor to Niklas Rotherberg. He is a project manager at the Center for Higher Education based in Germany. And as you have seen, the institution is leading Work Package 1, which is responsible for delivering this training handbook. Niklas, the floor is yours.
Okay, first of all, good morning, everyone. Let's see, this should work. Okay, can see my screen? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. My name is Niklas Rauterberg, and together with my colleagues from the CHE and the ZBM, we are working on the Handbook for Research Management Training. It's Professor Ziegele, Melanie Rischke, Henning Rickelt, and Anna Rojon-Weigelt. So what do I want to talk about today? First of all, I want to talk about the purpose of the handbook. And then we have two tools for training development we created in the handbook, a program development guide and a curricular component method. And third, I want to talk about the timeline of the handbook delivery. So let's start with the purpose of the handbook. So the aim of the handbook is to support training providers in developing high quality research management trainings or adapting existing programs. To achieve this, we described good practice criteria, established recommended standards, described a process guide for training or program development, and developed a methodology for curricular components. We know that training development often is very context dependent, and so the handbook cannot be a one-size-fits-it-all solution, but instead we see it more as a guideline for inspiration when creating a training. We will also have lots of examples in the handbook to give perspectives on different situations. And the idea is that training providers can pick and choose the section and approaches that best fit their context in regards to country, institutions, or otherwise. So now I want to talk about two tools we have in the handbook. And the first tool I want to talk about is the Program Development Process Guide. So this Program Development Process Guide, you can see a graphical representation here, has three major steps, like the program conception, the program planning, and last, the program implementation and management. The whole process should be understood as a cyclical process because we think that high quality training programs require continuous review, reflection, and adaptation over time. I think a good example we have seen in the questions just now, at the moment AI is a very hot topic, so something that might have to be addressed in a training even if it was not before, because it's a new topic emerging and now existing trainings might have to adapt that. As you can see, each of the three steps has a set of, or each of the three stages has a set of steps that might be significant for developing of a training program. Obviously, not all of these steps are necessary in each situation. That's where we are back to the pick and choose which of these steps are necessary for you developing a training or which are not. And there's no specific sequence where they have to be done, and some things make more sense at the beginning than others. For example, the target group and market analysis might be the first thing that is necessary when developing a new training program. For the program conception, we also have something about the business model, the resource management, defining the program or the profile, the USP, stakeholder engagement, evaluation and quality management, but only the planning of evaluation and quality management, not the implementation yet. In the program planning stage, as you can see here, we have these revision stops. These obviously revisions can always take place in the training development process at any time, but we highlighted some where we found it particularly useful to do some sort of revision. And as you can see in the program planning stage, it's about the development of the instructional design, selection of topics, trainers, the distribution strategy, the creation of the learning content, and might also be about the development of examination. That's, again, definitely context dependent. And lastly, we have the program implementation and management. That's about the operational management of the program delivery, and then also about the evaluation quality management in action, so to speak. And after that, or after successful implementation and management of the program, there's a curriculum review and adaptation stage, feeding back into the conception and planning stage again. So we have this cyclical process in the end. As I just mentioned before, it's not as easy to have something, for example, a stakeholder engagement guideline that's relevant for everybody. So what we decided to do instead is to opt for guiding questions which serve as a basis for reflection for each of these steps you can see listed here in this guide. And I want to show you an example of these guiding questions for the target group and market analysis. So as you can see here, for example, for target group and market analysis, we have something like, what is the intended target group of the program and what are its defining characteristics, which needs, expectations, and challenges characterize this group in the specific institution, disciplinary, or national context, or something like, which existing programs or services currently address this target group already, and are there still gaps or opportunities that remain? We know that these guiding questions are just a small portion of what you can do in a target group and market analysis. So we see these as starting points for reflection to build upon when designing your own training program. And yeah, we have these guiding questions for each of the steps you can see here. So for each of the subsequent steps, there's a small set of guiding questions and initial ideas where to start from. So basically, it's all about having a starting point and not starting from nothing, and having something that guides you through the whole process of developing a program, from the beginning when you have nothing to the end for the operational management and delivery of the program. So the second tool I want to talk about that is in the handbook is the curricular components method. And I will show you a graphical overview of this now, and we will go through this step by step as well. This method takes place, I will go back 2 slides here to this one. This is when the program planning is starting for the development of the instructional design, creating the methods and didactical principles, and the selection of topics. Like, as you can see, there's 3 steps in the program planning. This is where the curricular component method links into. So we assume that at this point, a target group and market analysis and business model and USP and all that has already been clarified and done. So it's actually about now creating the training program. And so our goal with this method is to link the research management trainings closely to the RM Competence Framework. We know that this process is just an example of how you can go about designing an instructional design, and there are different methods you can use here. This is just an example how we think it's a good idea to do it, and how it links closely to the RM Competence Framework. That's one of our goals we had with the handbook. And that's why I have here the starting point, or second point is the areas of research management. So I will talk about a little bit more about these areas of research management and where they come from in a second. But basically, this is the first thing. And the idea of this is to reduce the amount of competences and learning outcomes you have to look at from the RM Competence Framework. So the next step would be the competence selection and the selection of learning outcomes. And both of them feed in a review process, most likely with experts, the target group, trainers, or other stakeholders. And after that, we go to the selection of topics. Again, something that probably has to be done with stakeholders or trainers together, and choosing the didactical methods and principles for the topics to have them linked into the learning outcomes and competences. That's also something to be done with most likely didactical experts, stakeholders, or trainers. Okay, so I talked about these areas of research management as a starting point. I want to go into a little bit more detail what our thought process was in designing these. So we have the RM Competence Framework, and also we have the RM Roadmap project before. And we have 12 areas of research management listed in the RM Roadmap final report. And what we wanted to do is to fill these areas of research management with competences from the RM Competence Framework. In the RM Roadmap report, these lists already have skill sets and competences listed, but they're not linked to the competence framework. And we wanted to create this link to have a baseline where you can start from with the RM Competence Framework. Probably a lot of people know about nowadays. So this is the list of the 12 areas we have in the RM Roadmap report. For example, the research strategy and policy development, proposal development, project support, science communication, impact management, translation of results, managing information and related functions, research support delivery, training research and development postgraduate researchers, ethics and integrity, international collaboration, institutional branding, research infrastructure management, and something like research data information and intellectual property management. Obviously, these areas not encompass everything that's possible in the space of research management. And again, we think this as a starting point for the training development. So if your target group, for example, is something that is more centered around pre-award, then this is a starting point to have the list of competences and learning outcomes to look at the RM Competence Framework, to have it narrowed down a little bit to a more specific set for these areas specifically. That does not mean that the process ends at this point, and it might be that further refinement and more context specifics have to be done, and it also might be that none of these areas fit perfectly for the training you're deciding to develop, or that there's multiple. So these are not that's not a mandatory step, so to speak. It's just an idea where you could start from to have it easier. I want to show you one of these areas. This is the area of strategy and policy development. As you can see here, this is color-coded the same way the RM Competence Framework is. And we have all the competences we've found are overlapping with the area of research strategy and policy development. We've done these lists with competences based on the RM Competence Framework for all of the 12 areas you've seen in the I've shown the list from the RM Roadmap. And then after we created the list of these competences, we checked for overlaps. And then we realized that there are a lot of overlaps between the areas. And based on that, we could create the competences relevant for all research managers. And this is a list you can also find in the handbook. So this is a starting point, a basic starting point. For example, this is particularly well suited for people who have not been working a lot in research management. Like when you're talking about entry level, then these competences are most likely the most prominent ones for this target group. And with using when we created this list relevant for everybody, this also made us to revisit for example, research strategy and policy development area, and reduce it by the competences that are relevant for everybody, so that we now have a very focused list of competences only specific to this target group, or the set of competences that is specific to this target group only. So this is basically how we went to go about the areas of research management. And let me go back to this process here. So this step 2 with the areas of research management feeding into the competence selection, this is just an idea how you could go about it to make it a little bit easier and not have to look at all the 60 competences and 800 learning outcomes in the RM Competence Framework at once. So it's just to make a starting point a little bit more clear and easier to focus on. That's the purpose of these areas of research management we created. Now, lastly, I want to talk about the timeline of the handbook delivery. So as mentioned before, we're in the pilot testing phase at the moment. It's coming to an end. And we also start with the feedback integration already a little bit. And this will be done by the end of October. And the final handbook delivery will happen in the end of this year in December 2026. Yeah, this is it from me for now. I know this is just a very brief overview of the handbook, and there's a lot more information about the handbook out there. If you want to know more, listen to the podcast I did together with Frank Ziegele. There we talk more in detail about the handbook, and it's very informative, and it goes a little bit more in depth about what I've talked about today. Yeah, I want to thank you all for your attention and give the floor back to Virag.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for the very detailed but still brief overview. I think it gives a very good glimpse on what has been done so far and how it can be used. Before we go to the Q&A session, I still have a few questions on Mentimeter, so just please grab your phone or wherever you have joined and please just check out the questions we have. So I mean, based on what you have heard about the project and with a more specific regard on the handbook, what do you think, what aspects could be more valuable and more relevant for you? There are several options, so like competence-based training design, the whole alignment with RM Comp, or the fact that it is based on this learning outcome methodology, or once we have the quality label as such, then it might give some extra value, or the networking, partnerships, visibility, what would be more relevant for you. We are very keen on to learn your opinion because it also helps us to design these final deliverables, to build our quality label and also the value proposition that we want to deliver. And meanwhile, if you have any specific questions to any of our presenters, speakers, please also add it to the Q&A session of Zoom. So it's not on Mentimeter, but the Zoom application, you can find a button Q&A and you can add the questions. I already have one. I already see in the Q&A section one. So let's see. So what I see based on the feedbacks is that this competence-based training design could be potentially most valuable for you, or the quality, and also the quality label and the recognition related. But there are other aspects as well, which can be valuable. All right, I don't see any more answers coming in, so I would suggest to go to the next question, and it is about focused already on the handbook and how you can use it. So I mean, how do you see where the handbook could strengthen your current training offer if you are providing trainings, if you are designing training? So is it the design, the delivery, or the assessment? Probably some certification built on this, positioning you in the market. So this is already focused on our main target groups of today. And seeing how you could use it, what could be valuable for you. Basically, the overall majority is going for the design, so the design process that was presented by Niklas as well. Probably, Niklas, if you want to add anything, just feel free to intervene.
I think I can say something about the questions here. I feel like, I'm pretty sure that the handbook is not doing much for doing a market position. I think that's not what it's designed to do. So I'm very happy that nobody is expecting that.
But there is high expectation towards the design, how to design trainings, and yes.
I think I can say this is something that the handbook definitely can deliver, like helping design, and also on the page before, the alignment with the RM Competence Framework and the competence-based development. I think this is something that the handbook can really, really help you do, I would say. I think it's exactly what it's designed to do. So I'm very happy that that's what the people expect.
Good feedback, right? Okay, thank you very much for all the answers. And I have one very last question on Mentimeter, and then we can go for the specific personal questions. So what would make the biggest difference for your training organization by using the handbook, by using the framework that is provided by the project? So is it visibility, recognition at European level, or probably quality assurance, more participants, more participants for the trainings, new partnerships, or potentially accreditation opportunities? What do you think? Okay, it's also interesting that quality assurance is on the top, which is, I think, also an important part, both the handbook and also the quality label that will be designed. But of course, all the other aspects can be very, very relevant. And this is the aim as well. Again, Niklas or Lorenzo, if you want to come in to share your thoughts, your impressions, just feel free.
Yeah, just a personal comment. I think that indeed the stronger quality assurance, also based on the work we did, and from the beginning that we decided to focus a lot on this aspect with the quality label. That is indeed something for the training providers, for the training organization to embed their training. I think it's important. So there is I positively see an alignment between our work, and this survey. So it's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, it's absolutely a very important and useful feedback. Okay, I think the rate of responses won't change anymore. So I will close now the Menti. Thank you very much for participating and sharing your views. And now we can go to the question and answer part. I already see one question, but if you have any more, just feel free to add it into the Q&A section. So I'm just reading out, did you translate the competencies into skills? If not, why not? If so, how did you approach? I think it's directed to Niklas very much.
Yeah, I can answer that. No, we did not translate the competences into skills. We decided that we want to work closely with the RM Competence Framework, and the RM Competence Framework lists competences with learning outcomes in different proficiency levels. And this is what we decided the handbook should focus on as well. Yeah, because I feel like we have the RM Competence Framework now, or this was our thought process. We now have the RM Competence Framework with the learning outcomes for different proficiency levels. And specifically to create an interoperability and to also, let's say, streamline a little bit the training development process in this profession. I think it's very important that we focus on one or more or less that we try to align with the same set of competences and learning outcomes in the profession. I know it's obviously not perfect and it will not be applicable in every situation, but I think still that is very important to focus and use the RM Competence Framework basically to manage and create trainings based for these competences and learning outcomes.
Sure. Thank you, Niklas. Another question appeared. I'm reading out. Do you have already some experience on rolling out training programs for RM communities at higher education institutions? And can you share a few best practices?
So first of all, yes. Before I've worked on this project, I've designed the EURESTMA course at the University of Applied Science in Osnabrück with a consortium. And this year, for the first time, we managed to, I'm not working there anymore, but my colleagues managed to do the course based on participants' fees without any funding, external funding, for the first time. Hopefully it will go again next year. So I'm very happy that this worked. The best practices. We will have examples from our pilot testers in the handbook. And we specifically choose programs that have been successful for some time now for the pilot tests. And we will have examples of these courses like an attachment to the handbook. So there will be links to these examples and how others across Europe have done it and how it has worked for them. And there will also, for example, be examples about the business models and how to get the participants in trainer selection. I think all of these you can find in the examples we will provide together with the handbook, the final delivery of this program, of this project.
Yeah, thank you a lot. Lorenzo, if you want to add anything, just feel free. Unless I see another question, which is basically very much linked to this. So what could we expect towards the end of the project? How professionals and organizations could use it in their work?
That's a good question. So I think what I've shown you today is some of the most important parts you can see in the handbook. There will also be a section about good practice criteria, and as I just mentioned, some examples of existing programs and how you can use it. I mean, that really depends on the organization and profession you're working in and what specifically the aim is you want to do. I think the handbook can be used in a multitude of ways. One of them is, I think, to design new training programs, competence-based, focused on the RM Competence Framework, create more visibility like this. And yeah, I think this is the main part. But it's hard for me to judge what inspiration others can get from using the handbook. But the idea is to design and review training programs for research management. And yeah, hopefully have them linked more to the RM Competence Framework, have them and a few other suggestions we have in the handbook.
Yeah, basically what I could add is that it could be also very useful for designing internal training. So, I mean, this is what many colleagues are doing in several bigger institutions, especially for the onboarding or for further professional development of the colleagues. And probably what was also important and presented by Niklas is that it kind of tries to simplify RM Comp. So as Niklas mentioned, I mean, in RM Comp, we have more than 600 competencies and many areas and whatever. And the handbook made a simplified and more user-friendly version of it that can be also very helpful, I think, for any institutions who want to design either career path or training path for the colleagues.
And maybe one thing I have to add to that question is there are situations where we've talked with people who do some sort of training, but they don't even call it training because, like, if they would call it training, nobody would join their session anymore. But still, even though they don't call it training, they still can benefit from doing some thought of competence alignment and thinking about the topics and creating learning outcomes. Even though nobody might see them ever, it still helps for the mindset behind it. Just as a weird example, what is happening in the reality of trainings and research management.
Yeah, true, absolutely.
I think I can answer the other question. Are there any experiences that can be shared how higher education institution leaders can be convinced to support RM trainings? That's a very difficult question. I hope that with the growing recognition of the profession and also the alignment with the RM Competence Framework and the alignment with European standards, so to speak, in that regard, that it helps the profession to be more visible. But I think Virag is more an expert about how to convince institution leaders than I am.
Not necessarily, but definitely we already had some examples and some good examples from colleagues. Probably Lorenzo can also add some ideas there, but what we heard from colleagues and what matters for institution leaders is to see numbers that are convincing them, right? So if you can somehow showcase what is the output or what is the performance indicator of your office, and then it clearly shows the growing number of funded project, the growing number of funding, external funding absorbed by the institution. This is, I think, a key reason how leadership can be persuaded to invest more in research management. Of course, it is super hard sometimes to put together these numbers and to clearly show that it was. I mean, it's never only the research support office, right? So I mean, there are many different aspects which can contribute to a successful proposal and a funded project. But still, if you can gather such KPIs that you can clearly show your added value, it can be super convincing. But Lorenzo, please add on anything if you want.
Yeah, I think that's indeed what would be the things that can trigger like in the institutional leader something in order to support more the trainings is indeed to have numbers as said by Virak, so KPIs and showcasing the results and basing on the key performance indicators. I think it would be the key to have something concrete, because otherwise it can be only abstract explanation. Instead, something concrete and to the point can be also based on best practice, can be something very important for to convince the leaders.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's go to the next question. Will the RM Framework quality label be open to training programs offered by private organizations or only by universities and public research institutions? Again, a very crucial question. I'm just wondering whether we have already an answer to that. Looking at Lorenzo,
I think
you are my responsible for the quality label.
And yeah, we are working on it with the colleagues at the ARMA, with my colleagues. And the idea is indeed to do something that could be open also to private organizations. So not only, we don't want to do something limited, we don't want to do something only close to the universities or public research institution. And that's why with the pilot testing phase, we want to test various kind of offers, but the idea would be to create something that is not mandatory, however, for the trainings to follow in terms of quality label, but the idea is to do something as much as inclusive, as flexible as possible. So the idea is also to open to various organizations, including the private one.
Thank you, Lorenzo, for clarifying this. And actually, you have already pointed out many key words related to the outputs of RM framework and the whole approach that we are working about. So, as a kind of concluding question, what I would ask from both of you is that what do you think? What is needed to make this Europe-wide training framework successful and really used all over this continent? So, I mean, what do you think? What are those aspects, or what were the starting concept when you started to design either the handbook or the quality label? So, what could be the key for success?
Okay, so I would like to take this first. I think the key for success is, and that's what we've trying with the handbook from the beginning, is usability and usability of the handbook. Make it as easy as possible to jump in anywhere in the handbook with a small explanation what the chapter is about, and having a navigation that you can jump in anywhere in the handbook where you just want to use it for this moment. I think this is one factor. We don't want the handbook to be too long a document. It will be a very concise and short document with lots of links to other documents with further informations. We will also create some for the curriculum development, for the program development process guide. We will also have like some sort of workbook document where you can like tick off the steps you've done or write comments to the steps. And for example, this is also something we want to do. So have very easy to use documents. That's what I would say is most important to make it successful. And also the other thing is visibility. Visibility of this project through the podcast, through these online and offline events, help the community see that there's something new there that makes the designing of trainings easier than before. I feel like this is also very, very important, the visibility. So that's something to all our participants. Share the information with everybody you know in this field. This is something that will help us a lot. And I would say this is also very important for our success.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Niklas. Lorenzo?
Yeah, I would echo on these words of Niklas. I think that's the key of success, or one of the main keys, is to the visibility, and also the like to try to share practice within the RMA community, because I think that's one of the main problems in the past years was the lack of recognition, lack of too much fragmentation. So the idea would be to do something aligned also with what we have at the EU level, but I think that it's very, very important to be visible and to connect with each other, also in terms of networking. And I think that the trainings should be as much as inclusive as possible and of an high quality. That's why we wanted to create a specific work package focus on the quality label to help the training providers to increase their quality of their training programs, of their offers. Of course, this is, as I said before, will not be something mandatory, but I think this could be very helpful to strengthen the RMA community in Europe, and also the offers from your institutes and from your universities.
Thank you very much. We already have quite a nice concluding verse, but if you want to add anything to our audience to say goodbye, before saying goodbye, just feel free to take the floor. Actually, I've also seen some more questions, but I didn't address them because we are not there yet with regards to the quality label, I think. So I encourage you to come back in the autumn and listen to our specific user events focused on the quality label and then the value proposition. And by that time, we will definitely have a very strong answer to all these questions that you put there in the chat with that regard. So I'm asking my speakers whether you have any concluding words, anything to add on to our discussion.
I want to thank everybody for joining and listening to what we have to say. Thanks.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very much for this big audience that we had today. And I think it was an added value also for the visibility and the interest of the people in the projects and in the activities regarding research management in Europe.
Yes, absolutely. You have just taken my words. So I would like to also say thanks to all the colleagues participating in today's discussions. I would like to also say a big thanks to both of our presenters and speakers, Lorenzo Molina from IARMA and Niklas Reuterberg from SCHE. And also my colleague, Beata Lazar, who was in the background, but facilitating the whole webinar, facilitating and following up the whole webinar. So, dear colleagues, that was for today. Please follow us on the website, but of course, more recent news and more news are always shared via LinkedIn. So please join us if you haven't done so, and you will get up-to-date information on all the other events that are still planned within the project. And as you have seen in the autumn, we will have many, many important and interesting discussions focused on the final results. And meanwhile, you can also discover more details about all the work and all the outputs through the podcast series. So thank you again for being here. And based on the whole team here, I would like to wish you a very nice day and, of course, a very nice summer holiday season as soon as you will get there. Thank you and goodbye.